For 8 years, passengers knew her as Emma, the friendly flight attendant. But when she whispered one code word into the cockpit intercom, the pilots realized their stewardess was actually the most dangerous person on the plane and their only hope for survival. United Airlines Flight 447, Los Angeles to New York, scheduled departure 2:30 p.m. Boeing 777-300ER, 314 passenger capacity. Emma Martinez, 32 years old, 8 years of flight attendant experience, had worked this route hundreds of times. Captain Williams greeted her that morning, mentioning the perfect weather and light winds, an easy day ahead. Emma met with the other crew members in the galley. Sarah, the lead flight attendant, Mike, working the galley, and Lisa, handling the aft cabin. At 2 p.m., boarding began. Emma positioned herself in first class, greeting passengers with her professional smile. She always observed passengers during boarding, a skill she had developed over 8 years, though no one knew why. In seat 12, A sat a man in his 30s with brown hair, wearing jeans and a polo shirt. Nothing unusual about his appearance, but Emma noticed his eyes, constantly scanning with professional awareness, not nervous flyer scanning. Emma's internal alarm bell started ringing. When the man put his carry-on bag in the overhead bin, Emma casually approached, offering help. He politely declined, but Emma studied his movements, too controlled, too aware of his surroundings. The weight distribution of his laptop bag wasn't normal either. When she offered him water before takeoff, his response was short and defensive. Another red flag. Emma moved on, but kept watching him with her peripheral vision. He didn't drink the water, just held it. Flight 447 was wheels up at 2:32 p.m. with a smooth takeoff. Emma waited for the seatbelt sign to turn off, then began service preparation. At 3 p.m., meal service began, and when she reached seat 12A, the man's behavior remained strange. He declined the meal, asking only for black coffee. He had opened his laptop but angled the screen away from Emma, using a privacy screen. Combined with his other behaviors, this raised more concerns. Back in the galley, Emma asked Sarah a casual question about the passenger in 12A, wondering if he had seemed unusual during boarding. Sarah shrugged it off, joking about Emma's tendency to profile passengers after 8 years. Emma forced a laugh, but this wasn't just old habits. It was training she had hidden for 8 years. At 3:30 p.m., Emma made a routine cabin walk for trash collection and beverage refills. As she passed seat 12A, she took a quick glance at his laptop screen and saw technical drawings, aircraft schematics. Her blood ran cold. These were unmistakably Boeing 777 electrical system diagrams. Why would a business passenger need aircraft schematics? Emma maintained her steady pace, showing no panic, but her mind was racing through possible explanations. She discreetly pulled Sarah aside, stating she needed to talk to the captain about a security issue. Captain Williams came to the galley area, away from passenger view. Emma briefed him on the multiple red flags: professional surveillance behavior, aircraft schematics on the laptop, and unusual carry-on weight distribution. Williams's expression shifted from casual to serious as he asked if she was certain about the schematics. When Emma confirmed, he wanted to know her recommendation. This was the moment Emma had been trying to avoid for 8 years. But with 314 lives at stake, she advised monitoring closely and preparing for a potential threat. Williams asked about her experience with such situations, and Emma admitted she had more than standard flight attendant training, enough to handle this situation. At 4 p.m., Emma conducted another service round, observing that the man had now taken out a different laptop, this one in a hardened case with a military-grade appearance. Her worst fears were confirmed: professional equipment. Emma made a mental inventory of potential security threats on aircraft: hijacking attempts, bomb threats, aviation sabotage, or cyber attacks on flight systems. The combination of aircraft schematics and military laptop suggested a cyber attack, which was particularly dangerous given modern aircraft's computerized systems. She subtly scanned other passengers for accomplices, but found none. Only seat 12A remained suspicious. Applying her specialized knowledge of aircraft cybersecurity vulnerabilities, flight management systems, engine controls, navigation systems, communication equipment, and cabin pressure controls, Emma realized the urgency. This couldn't wait for landing. At 4:15 p.m., Emma contacted Captain Williams via the crew call system, requesting immediate private communication. They met in the crew rest area, isolated from passengers. Emma updated him on the escalating situation, military-grade laptop, and a possible system infiltration attempt requiring immediate action. When Williams's face went pale and he asked for full disclosure about her background, Emma took a deep breath. This was the moment she had dreaded for 8 years. She revealed that she was former FBI, Aviation Security Division, specialized in cyber terrorism and aircraft threat assessment. She had been undercover for 8 years, monitoring aviation security threats from inside the industry. Williams was shocked, asking why they didn't know about her presence. Emma explained that's how undercover work functions. When he confirmed she was qualified to handle the situation, she outlined her plan. Infiltrate the suspect's system, identify the threat, and neutralize it before execution. Williams agreed to provide whatever she needed. In the cockpit area, with both pilots present, Williams briefed First Officer Chen about Emma's FBI background. Emma approached the cockpit intercom, picked up the microphone, and whispered one code word that changed everything. Blackbird. The cockpit went silent. Both pilots stared at her in shock, recognizing the classified FBI aviation security code that only highest clearance personnel knew. Chen whispered in disbelief about her true identity, and Emma confirmed that she was now their only chance of keeping the plane in the sky. Williams immediately granted full authorization and asked what she needed. Emma returned to the cabin with her normal flight attendant demeanor restored, but internally, FBI agent Emma Martinez was fully activated. Sarah immediately noticed the change, commenting that Emma looked more intense and focused. Emma prepared her intervention plan, approaching seat 12A with the beverage cart. She offered to refresh his coffee, and as she poured, she deliberately knocked over the sugar packet container. A small, believable accident. During the cleanup of scattered sugar packets, Emma saw enough of his screen to confirm her fears. Aircraft system penetration software with real-time access to Flight 447's navigation systems. While cleaning up, she placed a tiny FBI tracking device under his seat. Back in the galley, Emma activated a small receiver that allowed her to monitor his laptop activity remotely. What she discovered terrified her. Active penetration of navigation systems at 47% complete, engine controls at 23%, cabin pressure at 12%, and emergency systems at 8%. He was systematically gaining control of the aircraft. Emma immediately moved to the cockpit to report the confirmation of an active cyber attack in progress. Williams went white when Emma explained they had maybe 15 minutes before the attacker gained complete control of navigation systems. When he asked what they should do, Emma's response was simple. She would stop him. Emma opened the crew locker and removed equipment from a hidden compartment: FBI badge, service weapon, and tactical communication device, gear she had kept hidden on aircraft for 8 years. The crew members were shocked to see her true identity revealed. She attached her earpiece, checked her weapon, and pinned her badge inside her uniform jacket. Emma requested passenger distraction through fake turbulence simulation to keep the suspect stationary. Williams understood, and Chen activated the seatbelt sign with an announcement about moderate turbulence requiring passengers to remain seated. The aircraft gave realistic turbulence simulation as Emma moved through the cabin in professional surveillance mode. 8 years of pretending to be a flight attendant was over. She approached seat 12A from behind, while the man focused on his laptop, completing system penetration. Emma leaned down and whispered in his ear, identifying herself as FBI Special Agent Martinez and ordering him to step away from the laptop. The man froze and slowly turned around, claiming ignorance. Emma informed him that his false identity was blown, his laptop contained aircraft penetration software, and he was under arrest for aviation terrorism. When his hand moved toward his pocket, Emma's voice carried lethal authority as she warned him that she had a weapon trained on him, invisible to other passengers, but ready to stop any threatening movement. The man complied with Emma's orders to place his hands on the armrests. She reached for his laptop, checking the screen to see navigation penetration at 67% complete. When she demanded to know how to stop the attack, he claimed it was automated and couldn't be stopped. Emma applied pressure to a specific point behind his ear, an FBI technique, and repeated her demand. Under pressure, he typed commands that stopped the penetration and severed the connection. Under continued interrogation, the man revealed he was working for foreign intelligence, testing aviation vulnerabilities for a state-sponsored multinational group. Emma's worst fears were confirmed. This wasn't a lone wolf attack, but a coordinated intelligence operation. When pressed about other flights, he initially claimed ignorance, but Emma knew he was lying. The immediate threat was neutralized and aircraft systems were secure, but this was clearly bigger than one flight. Captain Williams appeared and saw Emma with her badge displayed and the suspect restrained. She briefed him that the threat was neutralized, but part of a larger operation requiring an emergency landing at the nearest major airport with an FBI field office. Williams checked navigation and identified Denver International as 45 minutes away. He returned to the cockpit to begin emergency landing procedures, while Emma professionally restrained the suspect with zip ties from the first aid kit. During the 20 minutes before landing, Emma conducted a preliminary interrogation. The suspect initially refused to cooperate, but when Emma appealed to him about the 314 innocent people on their aircraft and thousands more on other flights, real emotion showed through his fear. He revealed that if he talked, his family would be killed, but Emma assured him the FBI could provide protection in exchange for cooperation. After an internal struggle, he finally disclosed the truth. Operation Skyfall, coordinated cyber attacks on 12 major routes scheduled for Christmas Day. Emma's heart stopped. Christmas Day was only 3 days away, the busiest travel day of the year. The operation targeted coast-to-coast major hubs including LAX, JFK, Miami, Seattle, and Chicago, with 12 operators and 1 per flight. The suspect explained the cell structure meant taking down one operator wouldn't stop the others, and the trigger was coordinated timing with all flights targeted simultaneously at 2 p.m. Eastern, peak travel time. Emma immediately radioed the cockpit to patch her through to FBI again, relaying the intelligence about Operation Skyfall to Assistant Director Morrison, while the aircraft descended toward Denver. Morrison's immediate response was to implement DEFCON 2 for aviation with all flights grounded on Christmas Day. But Emma argued this was exactly what the terrorists wanted: economic damage and travel disruption. She proposed a counter-operation, coordinate with other undercover assets to identify all 12 operators and take them down simultaneously. Despite the incredible risk, Morrison approved her plan, and she would coordinate from the Denver field office. Flight 447 touched down at Denver International at 5:22 p.m. with FBI tactical teams waiting at the gate. Passengers deplaned normally, unaware of the drama that had unfolded. Emma maintained her flight attendant persona until the last passenger departed, then removed her uniform jacket to reveal her FBI badge and tactical gear. The crew members expressed their shock at her true identity. When Sarah asked what happened next, Emma's response was simple. She was going to save Christmas travel for 50 million Americans. The FBI team boarded the aircraft, led by Agent Rodriguez, who had heard about Emma's 8 years of deep cover work. Emma looked back at the aircraft cabin, reflecting on 8 years of memories, thousands of flights, and millions of passengers all protected without their knowledge. At the Denver FBI field office, Emma briefed a room full of aviation security experts, cyber terrorism specialists, and NSA liaisons about Operation Skyfall, 12 flights on Christmas Day at 2 p.m. Eastern with coordinated cyber attacks intended to crash aircraft or cause massive aviation disruption. When asked how to stop them, Emma proposed the same method she had used: identify operators, infiltrate their operations, and coordinate simultaneous takedowns. This would require other undercover assets, and Emma revealed that she wasn't the only one. The FBI had been placing aviation security specialists throughout the airline industry for years: flight attendants, pilots, ground crew, and maintenance personnel. Emma would coordinate the operation from Denver. On December 24th, Emma spent the day in intensive briefing for Operation Counter Skyfall, the largest FBI aviation security operation in history, with 12 coordinated teams for 12 flights in a simultaneous operation. Emma reviewed her assignment: United Flight 925, LAX to JFK, departing 1:30 p.m. Christmas Day, the highest value target with the busiest route and maximum passengers. The briefing officer warned that her operator would be expecting their colleague's arrest and might abort, but Emma countered they might accelerate the timeline instead. Agent Rodriguez provided her with advanced equipment, communication device, location tracker, cyber intrusion detector, and weapon. Emma studied the passenger manifest for Flight 925, 347 passengers and crew of 12 on the largest aircraft in United's fleet. That evening, Emma called her sister in Phoenix, having what might be her last conversation as a flight attendant, mentioning a career change back to her old government job. When her sister noted the unusual sentimental call, Emma simply said it was a special occasion. On December 25th at 6 a.m., Emma dressed in her United Airlines uniform for potentially the last time, knowing that 8 years of hiding behind this identity would end today. After her connection flight to LAX and the crew briefing with enhanced security protocols, Emma introduced herself as a transferred crew member. She installed FBI monitoring equipment in the galley area and tested communication with the command center. At noon, passenger boarding began with Emma watching carefully as 347 people boarded, families traveling for Christmas, business travelers, and tourists. Somewhere among them was a potential terrorist. Her seat manifest review identified 3 possible suspects, and she took position in first class for optimal observation. At 1:30 p.m., Flight 925 was wheels up for the most critical flight in aviation history, though passengers had no idea. Emma began routine service with enhanced observation, treating each passenger interaction as intelligence gathering. The official timeline for Operation Skyfall was 2 p.m. Eastern, and Emma tensed, waiting for something to happen. When nothing occurred initially, she felt nagging doubt. Professional terrorists don't abort because one operative gets captured. At 2:30 p.m., Emma noticed new behavior. A woman in seat 8F, who had been reading, suddenly started typing intensively on her smartphone with concentrated technical focus. Emma approached casually, offering a beverage refill, and caught a glimpse of code on the phone screen. When she made conversational inquiry about programming, the woman looked up sharply but confirmed she was a software developer. Emma checked the manifest: Linda Foster, marketing consultant, clearly a cover identity. She discreetly activated her hidden camera to capture images of the phone screen showing advanced encryption software. Emma reported the possible operator to control and continued surveillance as Foster's behavior escalated with multiple phone interactions and increasing urgency. Emma positioned herself to observe Foster communicating and coordinating with someone, catching a partial message about systems being accessible and implementing on Signal. This confirmed Foster as an Operation Skyfall operative. Emma chose to gather more intelligence rather than arrest immediately. With Foster restrained, Emma accessed her laptop, discovering advanced cyber warfare tools and real-time communication with 11 other operators. The screen showed coordinated attacks in progress across multiple flights with varying degrees of systems penetration. Emma realized the full scope: 12 major flights simultaneously under cyber attack. She reported having the operator's laptop with a real-time view of the entire operation and attempted counterattack. Emma's FBI cyber training activated as she reverse-engineered Foster's intrusion software, looking for vulnerabilities. Despite Foster's claim that the system was automated and unstoppable, Emma found the central command server coordinating all attacks from a server farm in Eastern Europe. While she couldn't shut it down remotely, Emma implemented counter-intrusion measures that disrupted communication and bought them time, maybe 30 minutes before systems were fully compromised. Emma discovered the multinational nature of the operation through communication logs in multiple languages and cryptocurrency payment records worth millions, realizing this was economic warfare designed to collapse aviation industry confidence. When Assistant Director Morrison requested immediate resolution, Emma proposed using the communication system's two-way nature to trace every connected device. Foster's laptop became a beacon, identifying all 11 other operators across the 12 flights. Emma transmitted operator locations to FBI Command Center, providing positive identification for all 12 operatives, enabling simultaneous arrests across all flights. At 3:47 p.m. across America's skies, FBI agents revealed themselves simultaneously on 12 flights, arresting operators and neutralizing operations. Emma monitored the communication on Foster's laptop as operators went offline one by one, watching the network collapse systematically. Control confirmed outstanding work as Emma looked around Flight 925's cabin, realizing passengers had no idea they had just survived a coordinated terrorist attack. Captain Morrison announced an unscheduled landing in Kansas City for security checks, with passengers grumbling about delays while completely unaware their lives had been saved. As Emma secured Foster's equipment as evidence, reflecting on 8 years of deep cover leading to this moment, Foster made a final chilling revelation. This was just a test run for a real operation that wouldn't be cyber-based, but would involve physical infiltration of trusted personnel. Emma immediately understood the implication and reported the bigger problem to Control: preparation for personnel infiltration involving recruited aviation personnel, including pilots, air traffic control, and maintenance crews. When Assistant Director Morrison noted that Emma's cover was blown and she couldn't return to regular flight attendant duties, he offered her a permanent position with the Federal Air Marshal Service as an aviation security specialist. Looking out at America's skies with millions of passengers depending on hidden guardians, Emma accepted the assignment. 1 month later, Emma stood in the LAX Federal Air Marshal Office with wall displays showing real-time aviation security intelligence. Her supervisor, Agent Davis, briefed her on her new role coordinating West Coast operations, training new agents, and responding to immediate threats. Emma looked out at the LAX tarmac with hundreds of aircraft and thousands of passengers, learning about current operations involving intelligence, suggesting terrorist organizations were recruiting aviation personnel as sleeper agents. Davis handed her a file with her first assignment, training 20 new undercover agents, teaching them to see what she could see, starting Monday. 6 months later, Emma boarded Flight United 923, LAX to JFK, but now traveled as a Federal Air Marshal rather than an undercover flight attendant. Passengers saw her differently with her badge visible and authority clear, creating professional distance. Emma missed the intimacy of the flight attendant role: personal interaction, service orientation, and invisible protection. As an air marshal, she was an obvious deterrent rather than a hidden guardian. During the flight, when a passenger approached asking if she was a cop and expressing curiosity about airplane security, Emma thought about Foster, the Christmas Day operation, and Operation Skyfall, while explaining that federal air marshals occasionally had to make arrests, but most flights remained peaceful. She realized that whether as a flight attendant or air marshal, her core mission remained identical: protect people who trusted the aviation system with their lives. The method changed, but the purpose didn't. 1 year later, Emma received a commendation from the FBI director for exceptional service, acknowledging her work in preventing terrorist attacks and revolutionizing aviation security. When asked about any regrets in leaving the flight attendant role, Emma reflected on 8 years of serving coffee while saving lives, now protecting aviation openly rather than secretly. She confirmed no regrets: different uniform, same mission. When offered a position as Aviation Security Division Chief coordinating national operations, Emma initially preferred field work, believing that's where people needed protection rather than behind a desk. However, she realized the scope meant protecting millions of passengers rather than just 300 per flight, and accepted the position. Months later, sitting in FBI headquarters monitoring aviation security nationwide, Emma received calls about suspicious passengers and authorized backup while coordinating new agents trained by her experience to protect aviation using techniques she developed. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number, a passenger from Christmas Day thanking her for saving his family, noting they never knew at the time, but knew now. Emma simply replied that she was just doing her job and wished him safe flights. Looking at the displays showing thousands of flights, millions of passengers, and hundreds of agents, Emma saw the invisible network protecting aviation. She had started as a flight attendant who secretly saved lives and now coordinated an army of hidden guardians doing the same work. Some people serve in uniforms everyone can see. Others serve invisibly. But the best guardians are the ones passengers never notice until they save your life. At 35,000 feet, heroes walk among us. They serve coffee and watch for terrorists. They are the silent guardians of our skies, always watching.